All right, so now that we understand this idea of molecules, right, and how atoms are made out of molecules, let's talk about the big picture, okay? So what we're gonna do is let's go ahead and let me erase my annotation here. All right, here we go. Whoops. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Annotations. There we go. Clear all drawings. All right, cool. So now let's go ahead and let's talk about who we're gonna call on. All right, so let's go to Juan Gomez. Juan Gomez, what is the smallest things that take up space?
Atoms.
Very good. All right, so we have atoms. All right, so we need to understand this concept of atoms. Now, for our purposes, we're focused on these 4 atoms because this is biology. All right. Okay, we're focused on these 4 atoms here. Okay. So keep that in mind. What are these 4 atoms? Okay, Juan, what are these 4 atoms again?
Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon.
Very good, very good. All right, so now that we understand that idea, all right, let's go ahead and talk about Rihanna, what do atoms form?
They form molecules.
Very good. They form molecules. Exactly. They form molecules, right? And so now some of the molecules that we've been talking about, okay, are here on our screen. So let's go ahead and take the picture of this. All right. So here's some of the molecules that we've talked about. Okay. CO2, O2, water molecules, H2O, right? So here are the molecules, right? Now, these molecules, like these 3, for example, all right. Okay. What do these guys form? What do these molecules form? Like CO2, O2, H2O, what do they form? Okay, let's go with, let's see here. Let's go with Adam Garcia. What do they form? What do these molecules form in the natural world? What do these molecules, what is, okay, some of the molecules like these, what do they form in the natural world?
Wouldn't it be non-living things?
Very good. Very good. Non-living things. So in the natural world, we have things that are considered non-living. Okay, like water. Okay, the ocean, the water in the ocean, that's a non-living thing, right? The fish in the ocean are living, but water by itself is just these molecules of H2O. When you drink water, you're drinking the H2O molecules. Now, O2, okay, molecules. Okay, tell me, okay, tell me where, Jamel, tell me where you find O2 molecules. Where do you find these guys right here, the O2 molecules? Where do you find those? Jamel?
Yes.
Where do you find O2 molecules in the natural world? Okay, let's get somebody still this point. Okay, how about Isaiah Castro? Where do you find O2 molecules?
O2, like oxygen?
Yeah, oxygen. Where do you find these molecules in the natural world? Where are they?
In like the air?
Exactly, in the air, right? So the air is made up of molecules as well. Okay, right? So these molecules are also in the air. H2O molecules that you can see them, they're the clouds, right? And so you guys have to understand that molecules, little ones like this, form non-living things, all right? Now, also, there's another non-living thing that you guys have heard about over and over and over, right? So here's our cell size and scale that we looked at last time. Okay, if we zoom in, okay, here we have the cells, right? And we keep zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in. Okay, here's the smallest cells that exist, bacteria. But if we keep zooming in, now we get to these guys right here. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit more so you can see them. Okay, what are these guys, Isaiah?
You talking to me?
Yeah. What are these guys right here?
The ones right there?
Yeah, what are these?
Like viruses?
Exactly, viruses, right? And so viruses are also non-living things. Okay, so the reason why you're at home right now is because one of these bad boys, okay, COVID, is out there running amok, right? Okay, but a virus is a non-living thing. Okay, so you guys need to understand that idea. So let's put COVID up here so that you guys understand. It's not in this picture. It's kind of like a cousin of the flu virus, right? So COVID-19, all right? That's a virus, all right? That's a virus. That falls under this non-living thing, all right? So now, okay, let's talk about the other side though. The other side, let's randomize this here. Okay, Verico, what's on the other side? What's the opposite of non-living things, Verico?
Living things.
Exactly, right? So we have living things. Let's put living things up here, living things. All right, so the natural world, not only does it have non-living things, but it has living things, okay? Now, go ahead and let's go with Osvaldo. Give me 3 living things that you're familiar with and that we talked about in our readings and stuff. What are some? Bacteria is a living thing, very good. What else?
Plants and animals.
Very good,
Plants and animals.
very good. So animals, good. Plants, good. And us humans, right? We are living things, exactly, right? So it's very important that you guys understand that. But now, how do we get from molecules to living things like animals, plants, and humans? Okay, we need to understand that step, right? And so the first link that we need to understand is this idea of molecules forming large molecules. All right, okay, and so what ends up happening is, okay, I have this thing right here. This is a large molecule right here. Can you guys see it? Okay, if you look at my camera, can you guys see it? Right, now, who recognizes this molecule? What is this?
DNA.
What is this large molecule called? Okay,
DNA.
Emily, what is it?
DNA.
What's this large molecule called, Emily?
DNA.
Okay, hold on. I think my sound is off. Hold on. Let's see here. Come over here. Come on, get out of there. All right, there we go. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so what's this molecule called, Emily?
DNA.
That's right. This is DNA. And DNA, this guy right here, is a large molecule. Okay, it's a very large molecule. Now, if I take DNA apart, look, I have little pieces. These little pieces, okay, are small molecules. So when I tell you that small molecules come together to make larger molecules, this is what I'm referring to. Okay, like DNA, it's a large molecule made up of smaller molecules. So in order for us to build the living things that you're familiar with, small molecules, okay, have to come together to form large molecules. And what is the fancy word? Give Emily, what's your last name? Gonzalez. Let me give you some credit here. Emily, good job. How about Mia? Can you tell me what large molecules are called? Okay, what's the fancy word for large molecules? Is one of your vocab words? What are large molecules called? Okay, anybody? What are large molecules called?
Protein.
Oh, raise your hand, raise your hand. Desiree, I think I got you. Desiree, what are they called?
Protein.
Well, a protein is an example of a large molecule.
Cells.
No, cells are cells. Okay, what do we call large molecules? There's a fancy word for that. Eileen, what are?
A gene.
No, Eileen, what do you got?
Macromolecules.
That's right, macromolecules. So when I say large molecules, I'm talking about molecules that are large and long. Okay, like DNA, it's large and it's long. Why is it large? Why is it long? Because it's built from smaller molecules. All right. And then now that we have these large molecules like DNA and proteins and lipids and carbohydrates, now these large molecules are used to build, what is it? What are we made out of? That you've learned for like 8 years now.
Cells.
Cells, exactly. And so our cells are built from large molecules, okay? And these cells, now once they're built, okay, those cells come together to form the living things that you guys are familiar with. Does that make sense? So in essence, this diagram right here, this is how summarizes, okay, how the natural world is built. So this is the natural world. This is basically a concept map that helps you understand how the natural world is built. All right. Now, why is it important for us to understand the natural world and how it's built? Okay, let's go with Juliana. Okay, why is it important that we understand how the natural world and how it's built?
To like make hypothesis about
That's too vague. That's too vague. Okay, let's make it even more simple though. Okay, remember from our reading. Okay, raise your hand and unmute yourself. Okay, and tell me, why is it that we have to understand how the natural world is built?
To explain like events in the world.
Okay, close. I mean, that's a good try, right? But that's not what I was looking for. Remember, think of science. Emily, what do you got?
So scientists study the relationships with non-living things and
Right,
living.
right. Because at the end of the day, what is science? Just like Emily said, science, okay, what do we do in science? We study what?
The relationships.
Not only, yeah, well, before we talk about relationships, okay, here we go. In science, we study the natural world. And what is the natural world? Well, it's all of this. Atoms, molecules, non-living things, living things, right? And so that's why it's important for us to understand, okay, the molecular level of things before we start talking about biology, okay? Now, and to even take it another step forward, okay? A lot of you guys use the word that is super important, and so I'll go ahead and put a little heart here, okay, right here, heart, okay? This heart represents that word that you guys use, relationships. Because scientists don't just study the natural world just because, right? They study specifically relationships in the natural world. That's what we do. A good scientist only studies relationships in the natural world. Okay? Bad scientists will study things that, like, for example, let's say who we're gonna pick on? Let's say Isaiah Villa, right? He's a scientist, right? And he says, you know what? I have a great idea. I know what I want to study. Okay, I want to study how the hair color, how people's hair color affects people's body weight. Is that a good study? Is that something worth studying? Is that a relationship worth studying?
No.
Why not? Why not? Why is that not worth studying?
Because it's not about the natural world.
Because, well, why is it not worth studying? Like, for example, like, why isn't it worth going around looking at people's hair and seeing how it affects their weight?
Because it doesn't.
Because it doesn't. There is no relationship. There is no relationship between, okay, the hair color and your body weight. Does that make sense? So that's what I mean by relationships, and scientists studying relationships. Now, what's one relationship right now that a bunch of scientists are studying? What's the relationship? Remember, in every relationship, there's two things, right? What is one relationship that scientists all over the world are studying and concentrating their efforts on right now?
A vaccine
A vaccine for what?
for the
COVID?
virus.
For COVID, exactly. So right now, scientists are studying COVID, and that's one part of the relationship, and how that relationship affects who?
Human.
Humans, that's right. Does that make sense? And so what scientists have noticed is, I'm gonna draw a graph here, right? Over here, let's put the number of people, like what's happening over time with the people that well, okay, I'm not gonna go into that right now. Okay, so let's go to another screen, all right? So let's talk about this relationship, all right? So we have humans and we have COVID-19, right? So scientists are studying this relationship between a non-living thing and a living thing. And what is the relationship? What happens, what can happen if you get COVID-19?
You can die.
You can die. So that's something that scientists understand now. How did they understand that? How did they get to understand that?
By studying the virus.
But yeah, but what did they do?
Collected evidence.
Collected
Data.
data, exactly. So when you're studying a relationship, right? Scientists collect data, and the data, and the data told them that as more people got COVID-19, right? So people infected, right? What happened to the number of deaths? What happened to the deaths as people got infected? As more people got COVID, what happened to the deaths? Did it go down or did it go up? It went up, right? Okay, as more people got COVID, okay, more people died, right? That's the observation that they made, right? So that's the first initial observation, right? Okay, and now, what are we trying to study in this relationship now?
A cure?
A cure, that's right. What are people talking about in the news? What's the cure?
A vaccine.
A vaccine, that's right. And guess what a vaccine is? Guess what it is?
It's the virus.
No, heck no, it's not the virus. Well,
No,
it could be the virus, but the answer is here in this screen. What's the vaccine? The answer is on the screen. What do you guys think? What's the vaccine?
Cells.
Nope. Go lower. Molecules, that's right. Okay, the vaccine is actually a very large molecule. And what scientists did is they made this large molecule, and what they're going to do is they're going to inject it into people. And once they inject it into people, what are they going to do?
See how it affects the people.
In other words, they're going to collect what? Data to see how it affects the people, right? And that data is going to give them the data that they're going to collect is going to help them come up with a conclusion about the vaccine. Is it safe? Does it work? And eventually, when they have enough data that allows them to say confidently that the vaccine is a good one, then that's when they're going to give it out to the public. Does that make sense? Right now, there's like 8 vaccines or something like that are in that last trial. Okay, they call it like stage 3, where they're giving it to thousands and thousands of people. There's actually one vaccine, that's in China that they're already given to people, but nobody in the US is taking that. And then there's another one in Russia that people are taking, and no one's taking that in the US. So the US population, we're just waiting for our own vaccine. But ultimately, that's what science is studying a relationship, okay, between two things, right? How did the scientists figure out what the large molecule was? How did they figure it out?
Data.
By looking at the data and making more observations, right? And so by studying this relationship in a different way. So that's what science is about, guys. Science is about studying relationships between living and non-living things, or sometimes it's living and living things, okay? So that's what science is about. And so if you ever become a scientist and you ever get into a lab and you do research, really what research is just studying a relationship. And how do we study this relationship? By collecting data. What is data? What's another simple word for data?
Notes.
Notes, yes.
Information.
Information, that's right. The more information we know about something, the better our conclusions are, the better we can make decisions and figure out answers to problems, guys. And that's what science is ultimately, okay? Is studying relationships through collecting information. All right? Any questions, concerns on this? Questions, concerns? And finally, I'll leave you with this. Data is information, okay? That scientists collect when they're studying a relationship. Now, there's two types of data that we talked about. Okay, so I'm going to give Alexi Diaz a chance to get some extra credit points here. Alexi, what are the two types of data that were talked about in your reading?
Living and non-living.
Oh, buddy, that's not that living and non-living thing. That's what the natural world is made out of. When scientists are when they're collecting information, there's two types of information that they collect. What are those two types of information? Eileen, what do you think?
Qualitative and quantitative.
Very good, Eileen. Let me give you your points. All right. I just noticed that when you raise your hand digitally, it shows on my screen. Okay, so that's the way you want to get points. All right, Eileen Rodriguez. All right, Eileen, how did you raise your hand? Where do you have to go on the Zoom?
I went to participants.
Participants, and then where do you click after that?
The first button is called raise hand, and it has a blue hand.
All right, perfect. So that's how I know if you're ready to go. So raise your hand like that, and I can see on my screen who raised their hand. So she said qualitative, and quantitative. All right, now notice the difference. Can anybody tell me the difference between the two? Anyone? Okay, Juliana, go for it.
Quantitative is like numbers, and qualitative is like the characteristics or description.
Very good. So one deals with numbers, very good. Okay, and one deals with a description, right? That's what she said. All right, so now let me give you guys descriptive, all right? Let me give you guys a good example, all right? Now, okay, have you guys ever been to Northgate? Okay.
Yes.
All right, now, who's been to Northgate lately? Okay. Eileen, you've been to Northgate? Angeles, you've been to Northgate? Okay, Angeles, do you like strawberries?
Yes.
Okay, so when you go and pick out your strawberries, right, you know how they come in a little box and stuff that's clear? Have you ever picked up a box where you turn it and you're looking at the strawberries and you see some mold on some of the strawberries?
Yeah.
See, that right there, when you notice the mold, that is when you're first of all looking at the strawberries, you're collecting data, you're collecting information. And you noticing the mold, right? Because you can see it with your eye, right? That is qualitative data. You're looking, you're like, if you smell something and you're like, oh, those strawberries smell bad, right? Okay, or they look bad. Though that's qualitative data. But let's say Angeles is like, oh my God, like she counts how many strawberries are moldy. And she figures out that there's 5 strawberries that are moldy. That is quantitative data. Does that make sense? So you guys need to understand the difference between the two. And on your quiz on Friday, you guys are going to, that's some of the questions that I asked, okay, can you tell me the difference between qualitative, like looking and observing, right? Quality, right? Okay, using your senses to get information, or are we taking data information that's numerical? You need to know the difference between the two. Any questions, concerns? Science is all about data because the data helps us understand the relationship that we're studying. Write that down in your notes. Data, okay, helps, ooh, that's worse, that's bad. Okay, helps us understand the relationship that we're studying. All right. Any questions on this? Any questions? If you understand this part right here, guys, you're on your way to being great scientists. Okay, understanding, okay, hey, this is what, and you guys are all little scientists like all the time. As soon as, you know what you're gonna do the first day you step into on campus? Like Isaiah, I already know what he's gonna do. Isaiah's gonna step on campus and he's gonna start taking qualitative and quantitative notes. As soon as he walks in through the gate, he's gonna check out all the girls. And he's gonna start making observations. Oh, this girl looks hot. This girl looks hot. Oh, what's her name? And he's gonna start taking quantitative data. He's gonna be like, oh, there's like 5 cute girls hanging out over there in the quad. Okay, you guys are always you guys are like, you live your lives as little scientists. You're taking information all the time and you're making conclusions all the time. Okay, so just know that science is nothing foreign. It's something you do every day. You just don't know you're doing it. All right. Now, to leave, to take off today, to finally leave today, we're going to go ahead and take roll at the end. So just to make sure that everybody gets their points that was here one last time. Okay. Any questions, concerns? Any questions?